Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Wise Body Podcast, where we talk about eating disorder recovery and all things body. I'm your host, Dr. Sarah Hewes. I bring 20 years of experience as an eating disorder therapist, and I've worked with hundreds of clients to feel more empowered and connected to their body by tapping into the wisdom it holds. I'm so excited to keep learning with you as we navigate the windy path that is recovery. So let's get started. Welcome to the brother-sister episode of the Wise Body Podcast. I was lucky enough to have my sister Elizabeth on last season, and now it's my brother's turn. I'm really excited to introduce my brother, Joseph Hewes, who hails from St. Thomas, where it's always sunny and warm. Of all the things we talk about, weather comes up most often, and how I pine for warmer days, especially now it being the dead of winter and 0 degrees in Connecticut. So a little bit about my big brother. He is the board president and community arts organizer at 81C Arts, a nonprofit art gallery on St. Thomas. He plays a key role in shaping and supporting local visual arts initiatives at the gallery, which is a vibrant space, community hub, and events venue located in the historic downtown. Joe moved to St. Thomas 15 years ago, and since then has been deeply involved in the gallery's development, programming, and outreach. In his role with 81C Arts, he helps guide exhibitions, coordinates community events, and supports educational opportunities for both young and emerging, as well as established artists in the U.S. Virgin Islands. The gallery itself showcases rotating exhibitions and hosts art-related gatherings if you ever want to visit. And exciting news, the gallery is expanding to St. Croix in another cool space called the Farmhouse. Before 81C Arts, my brother lived a little closer to me in Newport, Rhode Island, and worked for the Newport News and restored boats at the Newport Yacht Restoration School. His life keeps getting cooler, and I'm so lucky to have him as my brother. Please welcome my brother, Joseph Hewes, to the Wise Body. Hi, and welcome to the brother-sister episode of the Wise Body podcast. Today, I'm joined by my brother, Joseph, who phones in from the warm and sunny St. Thomas, which is part of the Virgin Islands. If you're not familiar, it is warm there, right? Are you wearing shoes?
It is warm and it is sunny. You are correct. And no, I am barefoot as we speak.
Okay, well, just so you know, it's going to be 0 degrees here tomorrow. So I'm, as usual, very envious in the dead of winter in Connecticut.
In all honesty, and I say this, but it's easy to say how much I miss the snow because I don't have any. But it sounds really great, actually. A fresh snowfall. You do miss it after 15 years. You miss the snow. You do.
Yeah.
But maybe being inside looking at it through a window.
Right. Which I'm doing.
Okay.
Which I feel fortunate to. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's I think we've talked about this probably. You've talked about this with your whole family, how there's like 1.5 feet of snow on the ground and it's not going anywhere anytime soon.
Yep.
Well, we should plan a trip for us to come visit you when it's so cold and unbearable here.
Yes. But we're here together right now.
We're here together right now, and that's good because sometimes it's hard for us to find the time to talk.
It's wonderful.
It is. It's good to see you.
I'm really glad you asked me to be on your show. It really means a great deal to me. And I really appreciated being asked, not only flattered, but really I had never thought about my relationship with food before being asked what my relationship with food is. I had never thought about it at all. My relationship with food is I eat it. But immediately the first thing that came to mind was a kitchen table in Connecticut growing up and family dinner every night with my sisters and my parents whom I love. And how beautiful and how special that was. It is beautiful and special, as I will always have it with me, as it's very much a part of me. And I'm very grateful for it, very grateful for it. Again, didn't think about it until I thought about it. And when I do, it's really beautiful, and I'm really grateful for it. So thanks for being there, actually. It was nice of you to show up for family dinner.
I don't really remember it being much of a choice, actually.
It wasn't an option. But the structure of it, the consistency of it, and very much the nucleus of it. I mean, not only are we literally being nurtured with nutrients and food, but the nurture of the room and the coziness of the family and sitting in a circle and holding hands with a prayer before we ate. Mm-hmm. You know, that's really beautiful, and it's a ceremony and it's a ritual. And I'm very grateful for having had that be such a foundation in my life.
Yeah.
That was the first thing that came to mind.
Yeah. And when Liz was on, our sister, we spent a lot of time.
I know. I saw that episode. This one's better. This one's better already. It's better.
There's no favoritism at all. I admire.
Yes, there is. But anyway.
Wait. Hold on. To be honest, I didn't know if you'd want to do it. I didn't know if you'd want to talk about this stuff. But anyway, Liz and I thank you for being on in all.
No, it's really a pleasure. I really appreciate it.
Good. Yeah. Jokes aside, this is really cool. And so Liz and I talked about the very same thing, like just the stability and structure that was dinner. And not only that, but just like having food and options in the house. But yeah, Liz and I talked about dinner, and we also talked about like having enough food in the house and having a lot of options. And we were really lucky to have that sense of stability and not have to worry about food or worry about the next meal. And, you know, to be honest, I probably took it for granted. Like it was just so maybe expected. And I think this is something Liz and I talked about too, is I think that translated somehow into having stability within myself and my body, and like being hungry, I think creates a level of like anxiety and worry and
for sure
and obsessive thinking. And I didn't have that. But like that food scarcity didn't contribute to that in any way, which is just really nice. And I'm grateful now for it.
Yes, no, I agree completely. And the fact that it never crossed our mind, was there enough food to eat? The fact that it never crossed our mind, we're very fortunate for that. And yeah, it was certainly taken for granted at the time when you don't know otherwise. You don't know anything else. And yeah, we're very fortunate for that. And you're right, you know, there is certainly a sense of anxiety and nervousness and unsettledness when you don't know if there's going to be food for dinner. You certainly don't understand. Well, that, and combined with the fact that we had a mother who prepared food for us every single night.
Right.
She fed her entire family, and not only was there food to prepare, but that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
That takes a lot of time, a lot of preparation, a lot of work that none of us knew. None of us had any idea what went into preparing dinner.
Yeah. She was always thinking about it, but in another way, like in terms of planning. Like 100%. Even now, like she'll tell me like, oh yeah, we're at like 9 a.m. Oh, we're having this for dinner. Like she's always thinking about it in terms of health preparation and making sure that her family is fed, even still with Dad, right?
Exactly. Making sure her family was fed and taken care of. We're very, very fortunate for that. You know, and it's funny, something else that struck me, and again, I always come back to the sense of community, communal. And there's something very much communal in dinner time together. But what also struck me, perhaps socioeconomic, perhaps culturally, but the vernacular in which we were raised, that same scenario, that family dinner time with the phone off the hook, So we're old too, but because we know what that means. But
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
not to be interrupted.
Right.
Not to be interrupted. Phone off the hook. Don't even think about calling. But you know what struck me was that scenario that was taking place around our kitchen table in the kitchen in Connecticut was taking place throughout our neighborhood, throughout our streets. That same scenario was shared amongst our peers, our classmates, and our parents. We all were raised with that nucleus. And then you were back on the phone at like 7:30 or so because dinner time was then over. But everybody knew it was dinner time amongst us and our friends. That was how we were raised. And we're very, very fortunate for that. But you know, something else that struck me that was so funny. I mean, dinner was what Mom was making. That's just what's for dinner. But I mean, it was quite consistent. I mean, there was a rotation of dishes. Seldomly was there. We're trying out tandoor chicken flambe or something like that. There was never really. We were studying on the course. But what was so funny was, remember, we used to have like Rosemary's Chicken or Beverly's potatoes. Our mom's friends growing up, so they were sharing recipes. And we all know what Rosemary's Chicken was, or Beverly's potatoes. And those were our friends' mothers because they were all doing the same thing. What?
I think they were both Rosemary's. Yeah, the Budlong chicken with the Munster cheese and they're cheesy potatoes. I think those are Rosemary Budlongs. I think they both are.
I think Mom invented that.
The cheesy potatoes?
That's Mom's invention. Yes. Cheesy potatoes did not exist before our mother invented it. Nobody thought of that before. She trademarked it.
We also talked about this, Liz and I. She can't come to any holiday dinner.
Can we get her?
Nor hook without them.
What?
Mom cannot host nor come to a holiday dinner without those potatoes.
No. That's a prerequisite for every occasion.
Right. And she tried to I think it was a year or two ago, she tried to switch it up. And we were like, no. She was like, I'm going to try something new. And we're like, oh, and if you do, you're not coming.
Why would you do that? But it's funny because, we were raised on it. Now your children are being raised on the same things. So it's generational, which is really beautiful. And it's really wonderful that you're in the position in which you are now, the rite of passage you've inherited that. Whether that's now your obligation, that is now your role in the family, your family and your children.
Yeah, I try and share it with my husband, but it doesn't always work. Well, he's also working on a different time zone. So that's anyway, the extent we're going with. But it's a lot. I think I realized how, really understanding more and more how much Mom did. And I think, creating meals, thinking about meals, planning meals, doing the grocery shopping, finding recipes, making it every meal too. It wasn't just dinner. It was breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It was constant.
Yep.
And I think also, shows her love that way too. She's very expressive with her love.
100%. 100%.
But I think eating was also another level of nurturing that she wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. 100%. Yes. And that's exactly what it was. It was an opportunity for her to tend to her family. Our father, Dad provided. And that was his role in the family, and that was what he did. And Mom, we were very fortunate to have two parents that loved and cared for us, and And it's interesting because, again, I had never thought of it previously, but when you go to a restaurant, for example, and you'll see, let's say, a family of four, everybody's on a phone or an iPad or disconnect. They are not present, let's say. And with us, there was a presence. There was a mandatory presence. And I'm very grateful for that. And, what also struck me was, remember when we all moved out of the house for the first time, Mom gave us cookbooks of her recipes? Mm-hmm. Remember that? Just to make sure that was still taking care of us in her way. Yeah. She knew that we had the recipes that she would prepare for us. And that was like her instructions she gave us instructions to go out. Now this is, you're leaving the nest, but take this with you. Very much so.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
that was really wonderful. I was 22 years old, and needless to say, if it couldn't be prepared at a gas station, I didn't make it. So the cookbook might not. Everything was,
Do you make anything from it now, though?
No. No, I do not. But I still have it. And I don't literally have it, but I still have it as part of me. And that's something that Mom gave to us. It's still a gift, whether or not you're making Rosemary's potatoes. It's still a beautiful gift that Mom gave to all of us.
Yeah. What do you mean you don't literally have it? You better find it, or else she's gonna come after you.
You still have it? I remember what it looked like with the spiral bind and the clear cover on the front and back.
Yeah, she gave us
spilled.
Yeah,
while we were feverishly whipping cream or something.
She gave us several of those spiral recipe books in her handwriting, photocopied at Kingo.
Yeah. And photocopied, half the page was cut off. So yeah. Well, there were several volumes of it?
Yes, there are several volumes.
Yeah, it's are there?
Yeah.
I don't think I got the updated editions. But something else that is very much on point was, remember every Christmas, Mom would make Christmas cookies, and they would have the Christmas cookie swap with her and her friends. Remember that?
Yeah.
And somebody always made the peanut butter ones with the Hershey Kiss right in the middle.
Yeah, we all wanted those.
Yeah, that was really, when you mention food, I get back to adolescence and childhood and how we were brought up and what a central role food played in our upbringing and the foundation and the structure of it, from which we were able to base a life upon in every sense of the word.
What about, so I know I sent you some questions that you've been thinking about, which is so great. And I think both of us maybe didn't think about these things as we were growing up, but when do you remember starting to pay attention to your body and what it was like being in your body and growing and those kinds of things? What comes up around that for you?
Well, it's funny. I remember quite clearly, in becoming aware of my body, for me, weight wasn't a factor in my self-perception or my identity, if you will, growing up. However, a self-consciousness and a self-awareness, which is one and the same, did. And I remember I was in upper prep at Kingswood, Oxford, in the old middle school. And I remember very clearly seeing my reflection as almost for the first time. Well, no, very literally for the first time, being aware of my reflection in a mirror. I remember it very, very clearly. And that was my first inclination of a self-consciousness and a self-awareness and what I look like in the world around me. and therefore my role in the world around me, but more so what I looked like. Yeah, a self-consciousness, very much so. Weight didn't necessarily play into the equation. I knew slender was better. And I think there's a socioeconomic, maybe a cultural influence that can be attributed to that. I mean, it was also the era of Diet Coke, Diet Pepsi, diet things, 0 calories, 0 sugar. That was the rage. Like there was a diet addition to everything. Therefore, slender was the way to be. And very much slender, I mean, in all due respect, was better. And I mean that in all humility, but it was certainly frowned upon in our culture. Obesity was frowned upon, I would say. So, yeah, I would.
So you feel like you got those messages through what?
Well, keeping in mind, like this was really the era of cable television and MTV, for example, which was for me was like the window to MTV. I want my MTV. Everybody wants their MTV. You need to have it.
I know. We weren't allowed to watch
MTV.
it.
I have to have it. What?
We weren't allowed to
that's
watch
like my
it,
window
though.
to the world.
I know.
Like,
I know.
you remember
But, like,
seeing Thriller for the first time?
oh yeah.
Yeah,
I do.
that changed
Yeah.
a lot of things.
Music videos.
So
know.
I think popular culture was very much an influence. And by popular culture, I mean television and VHS and Hollywood. Hollywood all of a sudden was also accessible. You didn't have to go to the movies any longer. You could go rent at Blockbuster Video a movie. So,
Yeah.
but in all seriousness, that opened up a whole new world that wasn't there previously. And I mean, Miami Vice, Crockett and Tubbs, those were my heroes. And still might be to some extent. And it was all about what you were wearing. Crockett and Tubbs, Sonny always had the cool suits. Yeah, he always had a cool suits, and he had a white Lamborghini. That made him cool. Therefore, if I have that, I'm cool too. It had nothing to do with character or morals or ethics. It was 100% vanity. Crockett and Tubbs, Sonny. I mean, what do I need to be successful? I need to look like that.
Right.
And I really think that is such a exaggerated example of my point. I think it's a very good example of my point, actually. That's success. That's happiness. That's what all of the chicks are going to love. They're all going to love you because you look like that and you drive that. So as far as body image is concerned, it was straight up vanity, 100%.
Yeah, I agree. I think those messages were pushed really hard growing up. So did that influence how you felt about your body? Like, how did you feel about your body growing up?
Again, in my body, it was the aesthetic of my body. I don't know if there's a difference between my body and the appearance of it, but for me, it was solely based on appearance. You started wearing hair gel and your Benetton polos, and you better be popping that collar, man, or I don't even want to know you. Which I still do to this day.
I do too. I'm
because we're
myself.
gonna have to. You could, because I want to have to end this call. I really.
Yeah, hold on. Wait, we need to take a commercial break so we can fix our collars.
But seriously, I mean, you had to go to the mall and you had to check out all the mannequins. I mean, another case in point, where did we hang out? At the mall, where you what? Consume.
Yeah.
That was our hangout. And you consume an aesthetic, which for me was there for your identity. And I would say I was ages maybe 13, 15.
Yeah. So you thought less about your body, probably because you were already thin, and you thought more about like what you were wearing and how you looked.
Yes, 100%.
So you could fit in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This is an unfair question, but if we grew up with phones and had like social media, how do you think that may have changed how you felt about yourself and your appearance?
Well, that's a very good question. And I consider myself very fortunate that I did not grow up with social media. I think that would have made things so much worse. The sense of urgency would have been exacerbated immediately and immeasurably. I really consider myself fortunate for that. And I think the effects of social media and what's perceived to be beautiful and good is now so literally unavoidable, in my opinion. But to answer your question, it would have been very, very bad and completely all-consuming. My vanity, I would say, superficiality.
Yeah. And I think kids now are living that and would probably agree with that statement.
Yep, I would say so. And I think the consequences, and I use term consequences of social media and the availability to so much information, I think the consequences are starting to appear, very much so.
Yeah.
And just the sense of immediacy.
Yeah. Right.
And urgency.
Yeah. Instant gratification, needing things now. Things are just faster.
Instant. Right. Yeah, I mean, Amazon can deliver to you same day, right?
Yeah, usually 1 or 2 days.
I don't have that here. Yeah, I mean,
pretty quickly.
That's quite immediate. Yeah, basically. So I think the cultural vernacular in which we were currently existing for an adolescent, I do see potential dangers for sure. And if I were an adolescent and as impressionable today, if I were that age today, I think it would have been very, very detrimental.
Yeah.
Based on my experience.
What else have we not talked about?
The dinner with family, man. As grateful as I am for it, I didn't realize how much I missed it and how much I would really love to have dinner with Mom, Dad, you, and Elizabeth. How much that would mean to me, like right now. It would really mean a great deal to me. And as much as I'm grateful for having had it, I miss it. I do very much.
Yeah.
And it is simply my life now. You know, I'm in a gallery between dinner time hours. I spend a lot of my time working, if you will, when people are not working. And that's always the dinner time hours. So to sit down and have dinner time, it doesn't exist.
You literally miss it.
Very much so. Yeah. Yeah,
well,
I do.
You know that when you come home, that is a priority. And Mom is on it about what are we eating and when and on what days. And we try
totally
tap in all that family time and make up for lost time. And yeah, it's so important and still part of our family and who we are. So yeah, I'm glad we have that tradition.
That's a very good point. And it's true. You know, when I come to visit, for example, Mom's got the week planned out already by what we're eating. And, you know, there's a ceremony. And ceremonies, you know, food is ceremonious. Every birthday, every occasion, every holiday revolves around a meal. And dinner to Christmas, Thanksgiving, for example, the same dining room. And the ceremony and the ritual of it was a staple to our upbringing, to our lives, and remains so.
I want to shift gears a little bit, if we can, and then talk about eating disorders. And you know, that's what I do. Mm-hmm. I started this podcast really because I'm an eating disorder therapist, and I want to promote recovery. And I also want to revolutionize the way that we talk about food in our bodies. And so I wanted to ask you, and I don't think I've ever asked you this before, but like, What did you know about eating disorders growing up? Did you know anybody with an eating disorder? Like, what were your thoughts about it?
I've never suffered from an eating disorder. I do recognize it as a manifestation, a mental manifestation of a thought processes. I do recognize it in all of its severity, and I was introduced to it by someone whom I care a great deal about, and she suffered from anorexia and bulimia, severe eating disorders, nearly died as a result. She explained it to me. She and I are very, very close, and I was very fortunate to earn her trust. And she explained her eating disorder to me. And when she was born and raised, she's tall. She's 6 feet tall, and she's probably 6 feet 2 inches tall. So she was always the tallest in the class. She was always tallest amongst her family, friends, and so she was always the tall girl. And as a result, when she went to go get clothing, nothing fit. She could never find her size. She never very literally fit in. Very literally, she didn't fit in. And therefore was an outcast and excluded. I don't fit in. I don't fit into that. And as a result, tried to, I don't mean to, from my impression, from my understanding, from where I was, that was her attempt to control it a little bit, to take control over something she couldn't control. I can't fit in. I don't fit in. But one thing I can do is try to control it. And that was her attempt at controlling it through bulimia.
Control her size, her weight.
100%. I mean, that was the only way that she could attempt to make a difference, as opposed to accept, which takes a long time. It takes a very long time, and it's often a very painful thing to learn to accept. But ultimately, and fortunately, she did. That was my experience with it, and it was very intimate. I became very familiar with somebody whom I cared a great deal about, who was suffering from.
Well, I'm glad she trusted you. And it's ironic that I actually, when I talk to my clients about eating disorders, something that I say is that weight, or the set point weight range in which we're predisposed to being, is based on genetics, and just like height is, right? And you can't necessarily change genetics unless you go to great lengths and extremes. For instance, like if I were to change my eye color, although it's easier now, like I just get colored contacts, but
Yeah,
like,
right.
I didn't like my nose, I would have to like have cosmetic surgery, or, I could change my hair color. That's pretty easy. But like really changing like the structure of your body and your weight, and even like having a lot of muscle, you need to take some extreme measures there. And it's forever changing our bodies, right? Like gray hair, arthritis.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
For
That's a good
menopause,
point.
like
That's
things that, change our bodies. And when we resist that, it's like we're resisting something that is, and that is happening. And I think that can be a really
You're not going to
painful-
win that one.
Yeah. Well,
And
right.
you're not going to learn it. And it's interesting because as I'm becoming once again, perhaps self-aware in my sense, in my body, because it's aging and it's changing and it's getting older, and it's just strikes me surprise every time. Like I've been getting older now for a while, but I'm always still surprised by it. Like, really? Me too? Like, how's everybody getting older and I'm not? Oh, right. I think I might be. But like very recently, like a couple of weeks ago, I got up one day and I was like hurting everywhere. Like everything hurt. And I'm like, oh my God, I think I have a flu. I must have a sickness, maybe a malaria. And like I'm hurting all over, which is a thing here, but like must have some kind of disease. God, everything hurts, and making a lot of noises as I'm walking, which is never been silly. And it occurred to me I did not, in fact, have malaria. I'm getting older. And
I hope
you
would have heard that.
All of a sudden, 10 o'clock at night is late at night. Like,
Yeah.
so I guess our relationship with our bodies is always changing as we are always changing. And by that, I mean, we are always growing. And in some cases, in my case, growing older. So my relationship with my body, I'm far more grateful. That much I can say for sure. Health is,
Able to age, you mean?
we always used to hear it. Everybody always hears it. At least you got your health. And as a kid, you're like, whatever. Everybody has health. And then you get to an age where going to the doctor isn't height, weight, okay, see in a year. It's, there's, you take it very seriously. And as a result, so many things, everything comes back to gratitude. And right now, I'm so grateful for my health that I have the ability and mobility to function physically over the course of the day without support, unsupported. And, and you don't need to look very far. I mean, all of us know somebody who is suffering physically from disease. All of us, we're all way too, and perhaps as we're aging, we're all too familiar with oncology and chemotherapy and radiation. All of us are, that's a topic of conversation on a daily basis for sure. 100%. Whereas it wasn't previously. So that level of gratitude is real.
Yeah. I was just going to say, I think, we all know someone who's either sick or who's passed away. And we've known young people to have passed away, unfortunately, for different reasons. But I think that is how I tap into my gratitude too, that like I get to age. I get to be here and I get to run around after my kids and I, get to lift them up the stairs and not everybody can.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think gratitude is really, really important, really powerful.
And, that's a very good point. Not everybody has the luxury of growing old and, turning 50. It's just a number. It's just a number. It's just, it's not just a number. For me, it wasn't. For me, it's a benchmark. And it struck me, and I immediately got self-absorbed and the self-pity and the where am I now, and so on and so forth, which I don't believe is entirely unusual. However, when that wheel starts turning, you stop it. And I know a lot of people whom I love who did not have the fortune to turn 50 years old. And that's when that stops, when the self-pity, for example, hang on, man. I know a lot of people who did not live to be as old as I currently am. And that's a big one.
Yeah. I'm glad that we get to age together. And that's a real gift. And it's so cool how even like our relationship has evolved, over the years from growing up and, now into adulthood, having a certain level of closeness. Whereas, as kids, you would just like,
Right. Well, you get to know one another as adults. And, I'm so immensely proud of you and Elizabeth, Liz, raising such beautiful children. And what goes into that, and you and your profession, and what you're doing right here, right now, you are having an impact on the lives of many, many people all over the world. I'll probably be having more of an impact because I'm far more profound, but you're doing a good job.
You're very good.
What you do is so beautiful, and you're giving of yourself. You're giving of yourself. You're giving your time and your energy and your expertise to help people. That's your profession, is helping people.
Well, I think you do the same.
That's very remarkable.
Thank you.
I like to think so.
Art.
I'll take that as a huge compliment. It is something I spend my days doing. Tonight, for example, at dinner time hours, I won't be sitting down to a family dinner, but I'm having an exhibition of artwork for fifth graders. And that's a tremendously rewarding experience. It really is. It's really tremendous. I'm very grateful for the opportunity, the avenue, the vehicle in which I can give something of myself to someone else. But it's certainly something I recognize in both you and Liz. In you in this capacity, I know how detrimental, devastating eating disorders, anorexia, bulimia, addictions can be to people, to families. And I do recognize the fact that it is very much life and death. And what you're doing is really a beautiful thing. And I'm so proud of you. And that's the truth. And I'm very, very grateful to have such beautiful sisters. And as I've mentioned to you, I send this clip to all the people I know. I'm like, hey, do you want to meet my sisters? Watch this. And they click, and I hope they're subscribing. Are you getting subscriptions? I hope she's getting some. Because I'm so proud.
Thank you. Well, and the feeling is mutual. I think you are changing the world in your own way through fostering the love of a creative spirit through art. And that is a true gift. And not everybody has such a creative, artistic gift that you have. And I know it runs in our family through, our aunt, and definitely not me. But I really admire you for what you're doing and the initiatives that you're taking, with beginning with children and like really igniting their spirit and getting them super fired up about art. And so
their potential.
Right. But still, like, yeah, but I think it's related to what I do too, is that like, accepting and expressing and being grateful for who you are and what you have to give to the world. And we're just doing it in different ways.
Mm-hmm. But I think I am flattered, and I appreciate that compliment very much. But to be able to give, I've lived now 51 years. After 50, that really doesn't matter, but technically 51 years. So I have 51 years of, really, who's counting? I'm telling you. But you have that life experience, which can only be attained through life experience. And I consider myself fortunate to be able to give some of that life experience. But make no mistake, working with kids as often as I do, a fifth grader is not going to be polite when they have an opinion on a subject.
They keep you humbled.
It's humbling, and it's really massively rewarding, truly rewarding, and I enjoy it immensely. I'm very grateful for the opportunity.
Well, today the reward was all mine, and I really appreciate who you are as a person, and I'm really lucky that you're my brother and that we get to have this life together.
When she sees this.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, that's the whole point.
Are you crying?
Let's be honest. You're crying. I'm not crying. You're crying. Yeah. And I think it's the whole point. Like, at the end of the day, we just want everybody to be crying and loving each other. That's it.
Crying, getting older. What else you got? These past couple of days, since you asked me to be on your program, have been really, really insightful. And I'm very grateful for that, because of the fact that I wouldn't have realized, I don't think, how important our family nucleus was to our adolescence and is to my adulthood. But so grateful. And I wouldn't have stopped to consider that had you not asked. So I'm very grateful for that. Then I feel like calling Mom to thank her. But we're very fortunate, and I love you very much.
Well, let's both call Mom. And I'm glad we don't have to use telephone anymore. We FaceTime together and call her. Yeah, I think it's important, especially, now, to like tell people that you love them. Yeah, especially always.
Yep, exactly right. You take a minute and tell your sister how proud you are of her and how much you love her. And be grateful that you have one or two.
Well, I'm grateful for you and I'm proud of you and I love you too. And let's go call mom.
Okay. Thanks so
Okay.
much. Thank
you.
Fun.
Good. Yeah, it's fun. Do it again.
Okay. Go ahead. Good.
Bye. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to listen in this week. I'm so glad you're here with me as we learn more from our wise bodies and about eating disorder recovery. For more, follow me on social media and please share the Wise Body podcast with your friends. Lastly, if you're interested in a free client consultation, please reach out on drhewes.com. And remember, always take care of yourself and your temple. See you next time on the Wise Body podcast.